31 top doctors told a powerful CEO that nothing was wrong with him. Yet every night his chest tightened, his breath faltered, and fear quietly followed him home. He searched hospitals, specialists, and experts across the country, only to hear the same answer again and again. Healthy, perfectly healthy. Until one evening at his own dinner table, 3 children asked a single innocent question that made the room fall silent. What they noticed changed everything. This real story is not about business success or medical brilliance. It is about love, attention, family, and the life-saving power of truly listening. Stay with me because what happened next will challenge the way you see care, courage, and the voices you might be ignoring right now. This is a real story. It happened in the glass towers of Manhattan. In the corner office overlooking the Hudson River, a powerful CEO sat very still. His name was Daniel Harper. He was known for bold decisions, for billion-dollar mergers, for calm confidence under pressure. But on that gray November morning, his hands trembled. The city hummed below, car horns, sirens, the distant rumble of trains. Inside his office, everything felt strangely muffled. The leather chair felt cold against his back. The polished mahogany desk smelled faintly of lemon oil. His vision blurred for a second. Then another, a sharp pressure gripped his chest, not stabbing, not crushing, just a heavy, silent weight. 31 doctors had examined him over 2 years, cardiologists from Mayo Clinic, specialists from Cleveland Clinic, private consultants flown in from Los Angeles and Boston. They scanned his heart, they tested his blood, they monitored his brain, each time the same conclusion. You are healthy, perhaps stress, perhaps fatigue, perhaps imagination. But Daniel knew something was wrong. He felt it in the quiet hours of the night when his wife slept beside him. When the house was silent except for the soft breathing of their children down the hall, he would stare at the ceiling, a faint ringing in his ears, a strange tightness in his throat, a sense that his body was whispering a warning no one else could hear. His wife, Emily, watched him carefully. She saw the way his shoulders sagged at dinner. She saw the way he forced a smile for their children, triplets, 3 10-year-olds with bright eyes and endless questions. Lily, Noah, Grace, they adored their father. To them, he was taller than skyscrapers, stronger than storms. On that November evening, Daniel came home early. The house smelled of tomato soup and baked bread. Emily greeted him with a soft kiss. Her hands lingered on his face. She felt the chill in his skin. "You look pale," she whispered. He smiled gently. "I am fine," he answered, but his voice lacked strength. They sat at the dinner table. The warm light above cast golden circles on the wood. The children chatted about school, about math tests, about a science project on the human body. Daniel tried to focus. The spoon felt heavy in his hand. The soup tasted distant, like flavor without warmth. Suddenly the room tilted, just slightly. He gripped the edge of the table. Emily froze, her heart pounded. The children fell silent. The clock on the wall ticked loudly, too loudly. Daniel closed his eyes. A wave of dizziness washed over him, not violent, but deep, like sinking slowly underwater. Then it passed. He inhaled carefully. "I am all right," he said again, but fear flickered in Emily's eyes. Later that night, the triplets sat on the living room floor. Their science books were spread open. Diagrams of lungs, of arteries, of nerves. Daniel lay on the couch. A blanket covered his legs. The fireplace crackled softly. Noah looked up from his book. "Dad," he asked gently, "when the doctors check your heart, do they check how you breathe when you sleep?" Daniel blinked. "What do you mean?" Lily tilted her head. "In our book it says that if a person stops breathing for tiny moments at night, the body gets tired and stressed even if the heart looks fine." Grace leaned closer. "Do you snore very loud, Dad?" The question hung in the air. Simple, innocent, but sharp as lightning. Emily slowly turned her head. She remembered the nights, the sudden silence. The way she would nudge him because his breathing had stopped for several seconds. Her stomach tightened. Daniel felt a chill run through him. No doctor had asked about his sleep. No specialist had sat beside his bed at 2 in the morning. No machine had listened to the silence between his breaths. The room felt smaller, warmer. The crackling fire sounded distant. His children stared at him, not afraid, just curious, just loving. Emily reached for her phone with shaking hands. The next week, Daniel underwent a sleep study, wires, monitors. A quiet hospital room in New York City. He lay awake for hours, listening to the hum of machines, feeling exposed, small. By morning, the doctor entered with wide eyes. "Severe sleep apnea," he said softly. "You stop breathing dozens of times each hour. Your body has been fighting for air every night. Your heart has been under constant strain." The dizziness, the pressure, the exhaustion, it all makes sense now. Daniel felt shock ripple through him, not fear, relief. A name for the invisible enemy, a reason, a path forward. Treatment began immediately. A breathing device at night. Lifestyle changes. Slower evenings, more walks with Emily under the autumn trees, more time listening, less time chasing endless success. Weeks passed. Color returned to his face. Strength returned to his voice. The trembling stopped. One evening he stood again in his office overlooking the Hudson River. The city lights shimmered like stars. He placed a photo of his family at the center of his desk. 3 smiling children, a devoted wife, the true board of directors of his life. 31 doctors had searched for complex answers. But 3 children asked one simple question, and love saw what expertise had missed. Daniel later shared his story publicly. He spoke about humility, about listening, about the wisdom that often lives in small voices. He told audiences that success means nothing without health, and health means nothing without family. At night when he straps on his breathing mask, he no longer feels weakness. He feels gratitude. He listens to the steady rhythm of air. Inhale, exhale, a quiet miracle. Emily rests her hand over his. The triplets sleep peacefully down the hall, and in the stillness of their home there is no fear, only tenderness, only understanding. Only the immeasurable work of love that saves a life when the world runs out of answers. And Daniel knows with complete certainty that sometimes the most powerful healing begins not in laboratories or boardrooms, but at a simple dinner table where children dare to ask one honest question. Morning light spilled gently through the curtains. Daniel woke before the alarm. The steady whisper of the breathing device faded as he removed the mask. He sat on the edge of the bed. His feet touched the cool wooden floor. He inhaled deeply. The air felt fuller now, richer, alive. Emily stirred beside him, her eyes opened slowly. She smiled with quiet relief that still carried the memory of fear. They held hands without speaking. The warmth of her palm grounded him, a reminder that survival is never a solitary victory. Downstairs, the smell of pancakes filled the kitchen. Butter melted with a soft hiss on the skillet. Lily carefully flipped each golden circle. Noah measured orange juice into glasses with serious precision. Grace arranged plates with proud concentration. They wanted to help their father heal. They wanted to give something back. Daniel stepped into the doorway. The scene stunned him. Sunlight glowed across the table. The laughter of his children rang clear. Emotion tightened his throat. Not pain, gratitude. He hugged each of them, long, unhurried. Emily watched from the counter, her eyes shone. Marriage had brought them through lean years, through nights of doubt. Through the quiet terror of not knowing if the man she loved was slipping away. Now she felt a new strength between them, not dramatic, not loud, just steady, like roots beneath soil. Weeks turned into months. Daniel shifted his priorities. He left the office earlier. He attended school recitals. He listened to stories about playground adventures and scraped knees. He read bedtime chapters aloud, his voice warm and patient. At work, he changed as well. He began asking employees how they truly felt. He introduced health screenings, family leave programs, spaces for rest. Some executives questioned him. Profit margins, efficiency charts, sharp boardroom tones. Daniel remained calm. He remembered hospital lights reflecting off sterile walls. He remembered the weight of uncertainty pressing on his chest. He answered with conviction. Healthy people build meaningful success. Compassion creates loyalty that money cannot purchase. One winter afternoon, a young employee fainted in the hallway. Daniel knelt beside him. The marble floor felt icy through his suit pants. The scent of antiseptic filled the air as medics arrived. Fear rippled through the staff. Daniel stayed until the young man stabilized. Later, he visited him in recovery. He spoke softly. He listened. He shared his own story. Pain met understanding. Stranger met kindness. That evening, snow fell outside Daniel's home. Soft flakes blanketed the street in silence. Inside, the fireplace glowed. Emily rested her head against his shoulder. The children played nearby. A board game scattered across the rug. Dice clattered. Giggles rose and fell. Daniel felt a sudden flutter in his chest, a brief echo of past discomfort. His body tensed. His senses sharpened. The warmth of the fire, the distant ticking clock, the steady presence of family. He breathed slowly, carefully. The sensation faded. He looked at Emily. Honesty replaced old habits of hiding pain. "I felt something strange just now," he said calmly. Her hand squeezed his. "We face it together," she replied. "No fear, only partnership." He checked his breathing device that night with renewed attentiveness. He adjusted the straps. He listened to the rhythm of air again. Each cycle carried reassurance. Each sound told him he was still here, still loved, still needed. Years unfolded. The triplets grew taller. Their questions grew deeper. Their compassion expanded beyond their home. They volunteered. They studied. They carried forward the lesson that curiosity and care can change a life. Daniel often recalled that dinner table moment, the clink of spoons, the soft yellow light. The innocent question that altered everything. Sometimes the memory struck him with such force that he felt a chill along his arms. A vivid reminder of how close he had been to continuing in silent suffering. One evening, while speaking at a community gathering, he paused mid-sentence. Faces watched attentively. He described the sensation of sitting at that table, the dizziness, the metallic taste of fear, the sound of a child's voice cutting through uncertainty. His own heartbeat thundered in his ears as he relived it. For a moment the room felt small again. His pulse quickened. Emotion rose sharp and bright. He steadied himself. He smiled gently. And he continued speaking about gratitude, humility, and love that listens. Afterward, families approached him. They shared their own struggles, their own sleepless nights, their own confusion and hope. Daniel listened to each one, patiently, with sincerity shaped by experience. Later that night, he walked home beneath city lights with Emily beside him. The air carried a crisp edge. He felt her fingers interlace with his. The sensation grounded him once more. Life remained uncertain. Bodies remained fragile, but love remained constant. And as they reached their door, laughter echoed inside where their children waited. And Daniel felt the familiar surge of emotion rising again in his chest, powerful and overwhelming. As he stepped forward into the warmth, aware that every breath he drew carried responsibility, tenderness, and a story still unfolding within the fragile miracle of ordinary days that refused to grow quiet or complete. The door opened. Warm air wrapped around him, cinnamon, pine from the Christmas tree, fresh laundry folded on the couch. The triplets rushed forward, their arms collided around his waist. The impact stole his breath for a second, not from illness, from emotion. He bent down slowly, he held them tightly. Their hearts beat fast against his chest, alive, strong. Emily closed the door behind them. Snow tapped softly against the windows. Outside, the city moved in restless rhythm. Inside, time felt sacred. Daniel removed his coat. He studied his children's faces. They were growing, their features sharper, their voices steadier. He felt a sudden wave of awareness. One day they would leave this house. One day this noise would become memory. The thought pierced him, sharp, unsettling. He walked to the kitchen sink. Cold water ran over his hands. The sensation grounded him. He stared at his reflection in the dark window. A man once surrounded by experts, now guided by simple truths. At dinner, Noah spoke about a classmate whose father had collapsed at work. Lily described how scared her friend felt. Grace asked if they could visit with food. Daniel listened carefully. The room felt heavy again. The old fear brushed against his spine. Hospitals, machines. Unanswered questions. He placed his fork down. "We will go tomorrow," he said. "We will bring comfort. Because when someone is afraid, presence matters more than perfection." The next afternoon, they walked through hospital corridors. Fluorescent lights flickered faintly overhead. The scent of disinfectant lingered thick in the air. Monitors beeped steadily behind closed doors. Daniel felt his pulse quicken. Memories pressed against his ribs. For a moment, dizziness threatened. He inhaled slowly, counted each breath. Emily touched his arm, steady, together. They entered the room. A pale man lay propped against stiff pillows. Fear clouded his eyes. His wife sat beside him, exhausted. The triplets stepped forward without hesitation. They handed over a basket of soup, bread, handwritten notes. Grace spoke gently about science class. Lily smiled brightly. Noah asked thoughtful questions. The tension in the room shifted, not dramatically, but enough. Daniel approached the bedside. He described his own long search for answers. The silence between breaths, the simple question that changed everything. The man listened with fragile hope. His wife began to cry, not from despair, from relief that someone understood. Daniel felt emotion surge again, powerful, almost overwhelming. He realized that pain shared becomes lighter, that suffering spoken aloud loses some of its shadow. When they left the hospital, evening had fallen. Streetlights cast golden halos on wet pavement. Traffic roared in the distance. Daniel paused on the sidewalk. The cold air filled his lungs cleanly. Deeply, he closed his eyes. Gratitude pulsed through him like electricity. Back home, he gathered the family in the living room. The fireplace flickered softly. He spoke with careful seriousness. There may be days when fear returns. There may be moments when my body feels uncertain. But what saved me was not power, not wealth, not reputation. It was love that paid attention. The children listened closely. Emily's eyes glistened. He continued, always ask questions, even simple ones, especially simple ones. Care enough to notice when someone grows quiet. Care enough to sit beside them. Care enough to insist on answers. Silence settled in the room, heavy, meaningful. Then Lily stood and hugged him again. Noah joined. Grace followed. Emily wrapped her arms around all of them, 5 hearts beating in one fragile circle. Daniel felt a sudden tightness in his chest once more, stronger this time. A flash of fear ignited. The room sharpened, colors intensified. The crackling fire sounded distant. His breath paused halfway. Everyone froze. Emily's grip tightened. The children's eyes widened. Daniel focused on the rhythm he had practiced. Slow inhale, measured exhale. He listened to the quiet strength of his body. The sensation softened. Gradually, he opened his eyes fully. I am here, he said calmly, and I am not afraid. Relief flooded the room like sunlight breaking through storm clouds. They remained together for a long time. No one hurried away. No one reached for distractions. They simply existed in shared awareness. Later, as Daniel prepared for bed, he studied the breathing device in his hands, a small machine, unremarkable in appearance, yet powerful enough to guard his life. He placed the mask over his face. The gentle rush of air began. He lay beside Emily. Her fingers traced slow circles on his arm. The house quieted. Beyond the walls, the world continued its restless motion. But inside that bedroom, peace held firm. Daniel stared into the darkness. He thought about 31 brilliant doctors. He felt gratitude for their effort, but he understood something deeper now. Wisdom flows in many directions. Healing often begins in ordinary places, a dinner table, a child's question, a spouse who refuses to ignore subtle signs. His breathing grew steady. Inhale, exhale, each cycle a promise, each breath an unfinished chapter. And as sleep slowly approached, Daniel sensed that his greatest work was no longer building companies or chasing applause, but nurturing the tender courage within his family, guiding them to remain observant, compassionate, and brave enough to speak when silence seems easier, knowing that somewhere in the quiet spaces of tomorrow another life may depend on one small, loving question waiting to be asked. Years passed with quiet purpose, not rushed, not wasted. Daniel's hair softened with gray, Emily's laughter deepened with wisdom. The triplets stepped into adulthood carrying kindness in their voices and patience in their hands. One autumn evening, they gathered again around the same dinner table. The wood still warm beneath their palms, the light still gentle above their heads. Outside, leaves whispered across the yard. Inside, memories settled around them like old friends. Daniel looked at each face. He remembered the fear, the dizziness, the unanswered questions. He remembered the shock of a simple voice cutting through uncertainty, and he spoke softly. Life will test you in ways you do not expect. There will be moments when knowledge seems powerless, moments when success feels empty, moments when discomfort or doubt sits quietly in your chest. Do not ignore those moments. Do not silence the small voice within you or within someone you love. Listen, ask, care, because wisdom does not always arrive with titles or degrees. Sometimes it arrives in curiosity. Sometimes it arrives in compassion. Sometimes it arrives through a child who simply pays attention. Emily reached for his hand. Their fingers intertwined with enduring familiarity, a marriage strengthened by hardship, a partnership refined by patience. Daniel continued with steady conviction. Love is work, daily work. Gentle work, work that demands presence and sincerity. Protect your health, treasure your family. Value the people who notice when you are not yourself, and become that person for someone else. Silence filled the room again, peaceful, complete. The lesson rested in the air, clear and enduring. The greatest success is not measured by wealth or recognition. It is measured by the lives you protect with kindness, by the suffering you lighten with understanding, by the courage you show when you choose to listen and to love. Daniel smiled at the family who had saved him. He felt the steady rhythm of his breath. He felt gratitude deeper than words. And in that warm circle of shared history and affection, the story found its gentle conclusion, leaving behind a truth for everyone who hears it to carry forward into their own days with attentiveness, humility, and a heart always ready to ask one caring question when it matters most.